My fellow Americans, the State of the Union is as bad as it's ever been. President Obama claimed tonight that the State of the Union is stronger. In all due respect, his speech was a travesty. The president is either completely out of touch with reality, or he's simply another corrupt politician playing the little game that our elected officials play in Washington, D.C. My name is Bill Windsor. I'm a 64-year-old husband of 41 years, father of two, and grandfather. I was born in America. I served in the United States Army Reserve for 6 years during the Vietnam War. I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. I've never protested anything before. I've never been arrested or charged with a crime. I haven't even had a parking ticket or speeding ticket in more than a decade. I have owned and operated many companies during my career, and I've been the president or CEO of some large companies. Among other things, I'm a documentary film producer and director. I set out to film a documentary about government and judicial corruption called Lawless America. The movie became a mission, a movement, and finally a revolution, the Lawless America Revolution. I'm speaking to you tonight as a representative of the Revolutionary Party. The Revolutionary Party is a new party that's been created to save America. I happen to believe it's our only hope. If the President of the United States doesn't realize that our country has never been in a worse state, he should be impeached for incompetence. If he does know and has done nothing about it, covers it up, he should be impeached for treason. Now, the sorry state of our union is not due to President Obama, so please don't misinterpret my words. I'm not picking on the president. The situation would be the same if Mitt Romney or someone else had been elected president. President Obama is just the next in a long line of presidents that go back to at least Nixon. Presidents who have allowed our country to become as corrupt as a country can get. The State of the Union could be summed up in that one word, corrupt. I just about choked when the President began his State of the Union address tonight talking about the importance of the Constitution. I don't think he knows how to spell the word. He said the Constitution does not make us rivals for power, but partners for progress. I would have to rank that as one of the single most ridiculous things I've ever heard any president say. If I had been speaking in his place, I would have said, the United States Constitution currently isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Our elected officials, government workers, attorneys, and judges have stolen our constitutional rights, and 99% of us Americans are left defenseless by the traitors who have allowed this to happen. I personally provided information to the President about the corruption within our courts and within our government. The information has been ignored. I've asked for a meeting with the President or his staff, and my request has gone unanswered. I've sent information about crimes by federal judges and federal employees to every member of the United States House of Representatives and Senate. Ignored. I filed an action in the United States Supreme Court asking the justices to tell federal judges that they have to abide by the Constitution, and our Supreme Court justices responded that they refused to tell them that. These corrupt people will stop at nothing. For 241 days, I traveled alone over 30,000 miles in a Jeep to every state, filming people who have been harmed by judicial and government corruption. Upon compiling over 1,000 hours of video testimonials from 750 ordinary citizens from all across America, the Lawless America Project provides overwhelming evidence that our Constitution and laws are being disregarded by the judicial branch and basically by many, many people in government. On February 5th and 6th, 2013, hundreds of victims and advocates met me in Washington, D.C. They made appointments with their members of the House and Senate, and they hand-delivered a DVD containing congressional testimony from victims along with proposed legislation to reform the legal system and the judiciary. Every member of Congress has received 2 fax letters from me with the information, as well as the evidence compiled on video and on the website lawlessamerica.com. We have shown Congress what is happening all across the country and why congressional hearings are needed to make the public aware and to bring about the change that's required. If our members of Congress were unaware of this, I say they too need to be impeached for incompetence, because thousands of people have been trying to get them to act for years. Now that every member of Congress has Lawless America's evidence, it's put up or shut up time. Either the House and Senate schedule public hearings immediately, or we will move quickly to impeach our elected officials and put them on trial for treason. Now, these are hard words, but this isn't a game. This is more serious than a heart attack. These are the lives of every American that we're dealing with. All of our children, our grandchildren, and their children and their grandchildren. If we don't save America now, I believe it's doomed. The Lawless America revolution is absolutely nonviolent. But I hear that there are others who believe armed conflict is coming. Nothing would surprise me at this point. Congress needs to act to minimize the corruption and head off the possibility that our country could actually be headed toward something like a civil war. Now, this is going to be tough because it means everybody in Congress will have to cease to be corrupt, and that's why we have a problem. In addition to the personal meetings that were held on February 5th and 6th in D.C., we invited every member of Congress, everybody on their staff, and all the news media to attend not one, not two, but 3 presentations that we sponsored. Not one single person showed up, except for us, the nobodies. Nobody in the media, no congressman, not even the lowest level congressional staffer. So this shows us that they're corrupt to the core. How can you be presented with massive evidence of corruption nationwide in our government, in our judiciary, and not care enough even to send the receptionist? The media aids and abets this corruption by covering it up. Our documentary film, titled Lawless America, is scheduled to be released in January of 2014. Discussions are also currently underway that could lead to a weekly Lawless America network television show. Our movie asks the question, can 750 nobodies save America? That's the goal of the project. I'm a nobody. The people that we filmed are nobodies, because we don't have the political power that those elected officials have. But we've got to fix that. Lawless America will expose government corruption in America in a truly shocking expose. It won't be just a movie, it'll be news. This is an effort to save America. The government has done everything possible to keep this story from being told, but Lawless America is telling it. You need to know that our constitutional rights in this country are a mirage. There's no one in government who will stand up against the evildoers. Judges all across America regularly can commit criminal acts, and they damage people because they've got the power to do it. Judges don't answer to anybody. And as one retired and terminally ill federal judge, Mary Elizabeth Bullock, told me when I interviewed her, she said, if anyone in America thinks that they're going to get justice in one of our courts, they're sorely mistaken. That's from a federal judge. 750 nobodies and their families have set out to save America. No guns, no violence, just a Jeep, camera, microphones, and 750 everyday people telling their stories. We started it, but it will take millions of Americans to finish the job. I just about croak every time I see a presidential address and observe the political partisanship. One party claps, and the other party sits on their hands rudely. The truth is, there's no difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. Both parties are hopelessly dishonest and corrupt. We, the people of the United States, don't have a chance with the Democrats and the Republicans. I believe our only hope is a new party, one that's committed to minimizing the dishonesty and corruption that is currently standard operating procedure at every level across America. President Obama spoke tonight of manufacturing, energy, infrastructure, housing, jobs, minimum wage, cyber threats, poverty in other countries, preventable deaths with the world's children, and a strong military. That was what his speech was about. None of these represent the most significant problems in our country. The immigrants who I've filmed all across the country know what's wrong with America. We're a horribly dishonest country that's as corrupt as it gets. Virtually every immigrant that I filmed said if they had to do it over again, they wouldn't have moved to America. It made me sick when the president said tonight, quote, "America must remain a beacon for all who seek freedom," unquote. He then had the audacity to tell a story that implied that there is justice and law in the United States. I say to those in other countries who seek freedom and justice, stay as far away from America as possible. You will not be free here. You will not find justice here. Freedom and justice have been stolen from us. In America, we no longer have a justice system. We have an injustice system. In America, we no longer have a legal system. We have an illegal system. Our forefathers are turning over in their graves, as are the men and women who died in the military after being told that they were fighting to protect our freedom, our rights, and justice. Now, I respect and support our military and those who died. I'm very patriotic. But every veteran who I've filmed in stops all across the country have said words to the effect that anyone who joins the military to fight to protect our rights has been hoodwinked. It's all a mirage, a fairy tale that we're taught in school. Now, I did fall out of my chair tonight when I heard the president speak of universal rights in other countries, seeking fundamental rights in other countries. Then he talked about the God-given right to vote. Well, I just about died laughing. God didn't give us the right to vote. That's a creation of government. God gave us other rights. Our fundamental rights are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, being a child, being a parent, having a family. No wonder we're in so much trouble when our president thinks God's fundamental right to us is the right to vote. Heaven help us. I thought we were on to something when the president spoke about protecting our most precious resource, our children. Now that's something we must do. But he then spoke only of gun control, which happens to be a constitutional right that I personally think neither he nor Congress should have any right to meddle with. It should be done by an amendment to the Constitution that requires more than congressional action or the president's action. But the real issue was ignored: protecting our most precious asset, our children. The Children's Defense Fund reports that approximately 3,000 children are killed each year by guns. An equal number die in foster care, and a huge number are abused in foster care and elsewhere. 250,000 children are put into foster care each year, and there are over 500,000 children in foster care. Many are stolen from loving parents due to money-making schemes. Many are abused in foster care, and many die. The vast majority of people in prison came up through the foster care system. I think it's something like 70%. Children in foster care are given psychotropic drugs at a rate 3 times higher than that of low-income families who receive Medicaid. It's a huge racket where expensive brand-name drugs are used 3 times more than the normal use of generics outside foster care. Children in foster care experience high rates of child abuse, emotional deprivation, and physical neglect. Nearly half of all foster kids in the U.S. become homeless at the age of 18. 30% of the homeless in America are former foster children. The National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect reports 6 times as many children die in foster care than in the general public. There are reports of child abuse and neglect with an astounding 6 million children annually in the United States. 6 million children. Unbelievable. An actual report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds in America. Imagine the number that are never reported. At least 5 children die every day in the U.S. from child abuse. And those are just the ones that are reported. It's estimated as many as 60% of child deaths are due to maltreatment, but they weren't reported as such on death certificates. 30% of abused and neglected children go on to abuse their own children. The estimated annual cost of child abuse in the United States is $124 billion, and that doesn't even begin to count the many costs that can't be measured in dollars and cents, or the costs when it isn't reported. And when abuse is reported in a divorce situation, an astounding percentage of the abusers are awarded custody. It's like the whole system is backwards. If you report abuse, you're going to lose custody of your children and your rights. The abuser's going to get them. Even sexual abuse. I have filmed women with absolutely horror stories of what's happened in their cases. And yet loving mothers have been stricken of their parental rights, or the right to have custody, or to have anything but supervised visitation, because they had the audacity to report the child's sexual abuse. Did you know that in courts all across America, parents are having their parental rights stripped from them? The government tells them they're no longer parents. They may have nothing to do with their children ever again. I guess they even take their name off of the birth certificates. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is a God-given right, and that is to be a parent. The government has no business whatsoever taking away that right. Now, if there's criminal problems with child abuse, well, let's let the criminal courts deal with them. But nobody has the right to say a biological mother or biological father can no longer be one. It simply doesn't work that way. You either are the father or mother, or you aren't. There is no excuse for the government interfering in this and taking away rights from wonderful parents because of money-making schemes, and that's why a lot of it's done. Despite the true problems, President Obama focused much of his State of the Union address on taking away guns in an effort that I feel is unlikely to save many, if any, children from death by a gunshot. He ignored the extremely well-documented problems that really do exist, problems that can be dealt with. The president called again and again for a vote on the issue. Let's have a vote. Let's have a vote. It was the theme of the last part of his speech. Well, what we really need is a public hearing on government judicial corruption. Let's have a hearing. Let's have a hearing. Let's show the American people that our governments at all levels have become criminal racketeering enterprises, and that we have all had our fundamental rights stolen. Did you know that your state and county governments are taking children from their parents for no valid reason other than to receive federal funds? It's true. Did you know that our elderly are being taken away from their children and grandchildren by corrupt attorneys, judges, and business people so they can steal their money and property? They call it isolate, medicate, and steal the estate. It's happening all the time. It is a huge money-making racket. Children no longer allowed to speak with their parents, and their estates are stolen and used very often to finance litigation against the children who are trying to correct the wrongs. It's unbelievable. But I shouldn't use that word anymore, because after filming thousands of people and talking to thousands of people, I know that it's as real as anything can possibly be. Did you know that as many as 25% of the people in prison were wrongfully convicted, and that 99% of the people had their constitutional rights violated? I believe it's a fact. Did you know that little children are being handcuffed and sent to prison so judges can make money? Did you know that many Americans are victims of foreclosure fraud? Did you know that the truth will not help you in court in America? Are you aware that we no longer have the fundamental rights that our forefathers protected for us in the Constitution and Bill of Rights? Now, I could go on and on asking you questions about facts that you probably know little or nothing about. Just know this. In a heartbeat, you can have everything that you own stolen by corrupt attorneys and judges. Your children can be taken from you, your parental rights can be terminated, your parents can be placed under guardianship and you won't even be allowed to contact them while crooks steal all of their assets. You can easily be convicted of crimes that you did not commit and spend the rest of your life in jail. America's broken. That's what we have today. That's what we have to fix. America has truly become lawless. Now, we've got plenty of laws, but the judges, attorneys, elected officials, law enforcement, a wide variety of government employees feel they're above the law. These dishonest, corrupt people take the law into their own hands, and there's nowhere we can turn for help. No one's accountable. We no longer have our constitutional rights. Our government officials do whatever they want, and the Constitution is meaningless to them. The issues that motivated the colonists in America to revolt are nothing compared to what we face today. Let me repeat that. The issues that caused the American Revolution pale in comparison to what we all face as Americans today. But the problem is that very few Americans realize it. There's a tremendous need to educate our family, friends, neighbors, even our enemies, that we have this problem. It's serious. It affects every American. Our elected officials ignore the wrongdoing and corruption because they're all part of it. Most are attorneys, and they all belong to the same fraternity of attorneys. Our government officials have failed to protect us, and they've denied honest services to us. We want our country back. The so-called mainstream media, newspapers, TV, radio, don't cover it. I've been told they're afraid of the judges and the other power brokers. This will be the biggest scandal in the history of America if the story is exposed. Instead, the media covers it up. They aid and abet the criminals in our government. So here we are. Judges can and will do anything to any of us without a concern for the facts of the law. They will commit crimes to damage us. They will protect and rule for the benefit of their attorney friends and those with money and connections. They destroy people financially and emotionally. They rip families apart. They allow the elderly to be abused physically, mentally, and financially. They conspire to commit foreclosure fraud and financial fraud. They deny parents and grandparents the rights to see their children and grandchildren, with guardianship and children and family courts, often acting as money-making schemes for those favored by the judges. We don't have the rights to due process. We don't have the right to a fair trial. We don't have the right to an impartial judge. We're guilty unless proven innocent, and that's against all odds. We don't have the right to have laws properly enforced. We may be denied the ability to file a lawsuit, call witnesses, examine or cross-examine witnesses, and the list goes on. The legal system is a giant money-making machine for the bad guys. I'm told it's the second largest industry in America, tens of trillions of dollars a year. The system has been bastardized over the years to generate more and more money for attorneys and our elected officials. The system has been completely warped to favor big corporations, campaign donors, bribers, other government officials, and anyone who is favored for the wrong reason. And our elected officials in the Democratic and Republican parties are at least dishonest, and most simply have to be classified as corrupt. They ignore the real problems in America. They take care of their fat cat friends. The fundamental problem in America is dishonesty. The core problem behind everything is dishonesty. We must see all the corrupt and seriously dishonest people removed from our government. To ever accomplish anything, we need to educate a significant number of people about our plight. We need our fellow Americans to recognize how serious these problems are today. We need leaders in the battle against government corruption, and we agree to combine our efforts to accomplish something so that we can educate people and build strength in numbers. We need Americans just like you and me to recognize the problem and spread the word. You know, we don't have to accept what our country's become. It's our country. We can make our country whatever we want it to be. But boy, we've got to get a bunch of people to understand the problem exists. You know, it's a seemingly impossible task. We have to reach tens of millions of Americans. But I keep thinking that Martin Luther King and Susan B. Anthony accomplished what they set out to do, and they didn't have the internet. They didn't have unlimited cell phone minutes. They didn't have email. They didn't have the tools that we have today. There has to be a way for us to do it. The government is supposed to work for us. Laws are supposed to protect us, not be used against us. You know, a survey last fall determined that the approval rating of Congress had dropped to the lowest point in history, 12%. But what did we do? We were re-elected most of them to Congress, and we elected some new folks, and it'll just be more of the same with them. In America today, less than 1% of the population has the power. The rest of us, 99%, are nobodies. But there's one place where we have power, and that's at the ballot box. We don't have to just disapprove of our elected officials. We can change them. But the Democrats and Republicans aren't going to let us. We're just going to get more of the same. And when new people take office, one of the first things they tell them is their constituents no longer matter. It's the party that tells them what to do. The only way we'll ever get what we need is to replace the dishonest, corrupt people at the federal, state, and local levels. Thomas Jefferson said, "Experience has shown that even under the best forms of government, those entrusted with power have in time, and by slow operations, perverted it into tyranny." And Lord Acton is credited with saying, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely." Well, we have tyranny in America, and absolute power is corrupted beyond belief. After carefully evaluating our plight, I propose that the way to save America is through the creation of a new political party, the Revolutionary Party. What we propose is a new type of political party, one built on the most fundamental of concepts. First, honesty. Second, fundamental rights. Third, the Constitution and Bill of Rights, laws that mean what they say, and accountability. This new party's platform is these fundamental rights that 99% of us should embrace, the basic things that we all are supposed to have as Americans, but we don't have because the bad guys have stripped it away from us. Our proposal is to build a new political party from the 99% who are currently essentially powerless. We elect people who we feel will be honest and protect these fundamental rights, and we have contracts and pass laws that enable us to hold these elected officials accountable. Our elected officials will do what they say they're going to do, or will remove them. By requiring every government official to sign a contract with the citizens, making them accountable through grand jury action, we will be forever protected against the corruption that has eaten our country alive. As to the many other issues that face our country, our new party won't take positions. Our concept is revolutionary. We're going to elect honest people who support protect our fundamental rights, and who will be accountable to us. Beyond that, it's up to them to make informed decisions, and we can all choose which of those honest people we prefer. So we will have people in our party who will be for guns and against guns, pro-life, pro-choice. We'll have people on both sides, because the fundamental problem in America is if we don't minimize the dishonesty and corruption, none of the rest of it really matters. As I look at the issues that President Obama spoke about tonight, I don't know what the answer is on any of those issues, because I don't have any confidence that I've ever been told the truth about anything by anybody in our government. We need to get honest people in place to look at the issues and determine what's the right thing to be done, and educate the rest of our fellow Americans as to what in the world really is going on. Our fundamental right, as I see it, is that the government has no rights to take away our children or our parents. These are currently being sanctioned. Children's rights are important. Another fundamental right is the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and that justice should be the focus of legal proceedings. I believe the innocent must be released from jail. I believe we must abolish the death penalty, except in cases of treason, because we have such a high rate of convicting people who aren't guilty. The United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world. 1 in every 31 adults, that's 7.3 million Americans, are behind bars or on probation or parole. And reports indicate that 70% of the people in prison were formerly in foster care. Well, let's don't put them in foster care in the first place. That'll help us to have fewer people ultimately in prison. We propose total legal reform, minimize legal expense. Let's go from tens of trillions of dollars a year to thousands. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's hardly anything that lawyers do that's worth I don't think there's anything they do that's worth the money that we pay. Redress should be available for all of us who've been wronged. We propose that everyone wronged will be allowed to pursue legal action against the wrongdoers. The government shouldn't spend more than it has. The financial management of our country has become totally ridiculous. There are ways to stop that from happening in the future. We need honest people who really care. We don't need people who are controlled by lobbyists and fat cats. With the input of thousands of Americans, we have drafted proposed legislation that will correct much of what's broken in America. This has been provided to every member of the House and Senate. It's been provided to the President, the Attorney General, you name it. It's been provided to them. It's available on the website, lawlessamerica.com. These are common sense proposals, so they probably won't get passed. I don't really expect Congress to do anything with these things that will significantly erase the problems of dishonesty and corruption. That's because I think they're dishonest and corrupt. They've shown me nothing to indicate anything to the contrary. We need to replace them. We have devised a plan for how we will go about bringing criminal charges against corrupt officials, as well as a way to review cases by those who have been wronged by the corrupt system. And the Lawless America Revolution will be doing that in the coming year. We plan to correct the many wrongs, and we want reparations paid to those who have been wronged. No guns, no violence, just a bunch of nobodies peacefully saving America. We want our country back. Please be a part of history. Help save America. Thomas Jefferson said, "Every generation needs a new revolution." Well, we're a generation or two late in America, but the time is now. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.